Hot mic in 3, 2, 1. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome to the show. I would ask real quick that you at least place your hand over your heart, and if you can, please rise and remove your hat for the playing of the national anthem. Thank you, and please remain standing, or at least with your hand over your heart, for the playing of the Pledge of Allegiance by the great Duke himself, John Wayne.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now let's get this party started, folks.
I'm lost and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real, just illusion? I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real, or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real, or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Ripon Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Coming to you from a secret cave, hidden deep within the wilderness. This is the Dark Wolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we are broadcasting live from a secret cave hidden deep within the wilderness of Tennessee. That's right. We're ripping through the electromagnetic soup. We're tearing through the atmosphere. And we're tunneling away into your radio like a quantum particle. This is the Dark Wolf's Den radio show for Thursday, December the 9th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of a reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are going to dive deep down the rabbit hole of natural law. Where do your rights really come from? They're from your creator, so that means they are given naturally. Natural law theory, as sometimes it is referenced, the idea that your government or nothing in the world gives you your natural rights aside from the fact that you are your natural law rights. And we're going to go over what all that means and how it has to do with government and the judicial and so much more in so little time to get there, ladies and gentlemen. But first, let's go ahead and check our chat rooms over here on YouTube and see what both the Ripon Rabbit Hole YouTube and the Dark Wolf's Den Show YouTube channel is doing.
2,
doing over here tonight, guys.
1, going hot mic.
Let's see here.
Hey, we got quite a few guys over here. I do apologize for a couple things. First off, for last night, we had a software switch up. I had to take some training on how to use a new software. Apparently, we didn't hit the go live button correctly tonight on the Dark Wolf's Den Show channel, so hopefully some of you guys will be dropping in here also on the DWD Show channel. I do hope we're sounding all right. Like I said, we got overlap, you say. That's not good. Have to figure out why we got the overlap going on there. But like I said, we are got a new piece of software here we're using to run the whole setup. So hopefully it is sounding good. I'm not sure. Definitely need to figure out why we have that issue going on too. If we got overlap here, maybe that will help a little bit. Well, look into that and see what we can do about that. But Michael Fontaine, good to see you. Sandy B, first in the chat room tonight over on the Ripon Rabbit Hole YouTube channel. Terry Taggart dropping in over the Dark Wolf's Den Show, the only one so far over there. Sandy B says, I hope we're on tonight. Missed not having last night's state. Yeah, like I said, I had to do some training last night in order to actually get the show up tonight. So it's been a learning curve for sure, but I think we've done a good job so far. Michael Fontaine says, what's up, everyone? No DWD channel. Again, my fault, Michael. I forgot to hit the right button. It's been a very hectic couple of days for sure, as the holidays always are, right? National Memorial Gardens, great to see you, my friend, calling in from England, glad to see you. Terry Taggart popping over to the to the Ripon Rabbit Hole, said just had a little glitch there. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Sounds echoey, says Maggie's Ace. I'll have to see what is causing that echoey effect there, see if we can't get that fixed. We may just have to deal with it for this particular show. I'll see what I can do. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, once again, it is an absolute honor and pleasure to see every last one of you guys. Maggie's Aces, once again, glad to see you hanging in there and checking us out as well. And whether you are joining us on the YouTube chat rooms or worldwide on Ripon Common Sense Radio, the RiponRabbitHole.com, or most importantly, of course, from our flagship station in Ripon, Wisconsin, home of the actual Freedom Flame, what this whole series is inspired by, if you will. We appreciate having every last one of you guys along for the ride, and we are going to dig into the natural rights here in just a moment, but naturally we have two more little fun segments to do, the first of which we call Today in History. On this day in 1965, first Peanuts animated special premieres on CBS in the USA. The name of that animated special, ladies and gentlemen, A Charlie Brown Christmas, of course. And that premiered on this day in 1965. And that is today's segment of Today in History.
Say what?
Our quote of the day today, ladies and gentlemen, comes from Thomas Aquinas, or Saint Thomas Aquinas. We'll be hearing more from him later in the show, but he says, and I quote, "Fear is such a powerful emotion for humans that when we allow it to take us over, it drives compassion right out of our hearts." End quote. And that could not be more true, especially looking around in today's society. Again, that was St. Thomas Aquinas, and that is today's segment of
Say what?
And fear is a tool that, as we know, the left side of the political spectrum is tending to use more and more frequently. And it is a very powerful tool, and you need a powerful tool when you're trying to convince people to hand you their rights, because that's the only way the government is going to get your rights. Your rights are not a privilege given to you by the government, and we need to take them very, very seriously. Your rights come from your creation, the fact you're a part of mankind. That is where your humanity, that's the word I'm looking for. That's where your rights come from. You have the right to breathe, the right to think, to speak, to share your ideas and opinions, and that's only a small list of all the rights, right? But once again, we really should take our rights seriously. And here to discuss this tonight is Judge Andrew Napolitano.
If we take rights seriously, we know that they are not privileges. We know that they are not permission slips. We know that they are claims. They are claims against everyone and everything, including the government.
Your rights are not permission slips given to you by your government or anyone else. They're given to you by your humanity. And they are claims against, like the judge just said, everyone, especially, I would say, your government. He said including your government. I would say they are especially claims against your government to stop them from doing things that they should not and are not supposed to be able to do to you. Looking at the last 2 years, we can see there's a major flaw in this system without question. That flaw, of course, being that too many people have not taken their rights seriously.
So the concept of the natural law explores
Turn
where
that
do
garbage
these rights
off.
come from.
That is forbidden
Give my
around
back.
me. Turn that garbage
This
off.
is natural law theory, NLT.
No, you want to know why I did that though, Jerry?
Forbidden.
This is
Look,
its
look,
opposite.
look.
Positivism.
This is why I did it.
P in a circle.
That must be some of that Democrat doublespeak, because positivism is anything but
I was like,
positive.
what is this
So
shit
natural
about?
law theory argues that our rights come from our humanity.
That's messed
Positivism,
up.
the definition of which, with respect to law, is a law that is written down and ratified, has no moral bearing to it whatsoever. Whatever the lawgiver says the law is, if the lawgiver followed its own rules in promulgating the law, then under positivism, that is.
Jerry, we're gay now. The vaccine made me gay.
Shut the fuck up. The mic is hot and I can't figure out why.
Ever since then, they've tried to make people think, oh, we broke it down. We made it men versus
Audio of this show. So like I mentioned, we will be digging a lot deeper into him now, and he's basically the father of natural law theory, at least in my opinion, although all three of these A's happen to at some point kind of help to influence natural law theory.
So Aristotle argued that we can tell right.
It seems we're having an issue somewhere along the microphones here. I cannot figure what is going on. It's not saying that it's... Okay, I think we have the issue fixed. I think I found where the extra open microphone was. I do apologize, guys.
Right from wrong by our experiences. And we can tell right and wrong from our senses. We know that fire burns. We know that ice is too cold. We can tell good and evil when we look at it.
And there is a large degree in truth in what Aristotle said here, that we basically, by experience and error, have been able to suss out what is good and evil, what is right and wrong, what is painful and not painful in the case of the fire. But just through our experience, at least I would have before said we can usually tell the bad guys from the good guys, if you will, evil from... And then 2020 and really got to looking at these politicians and realized the criminals have changed their game. Instead of being the guy with the black mask and the dark trench coat, you know, the classical stereotype of the criminal we used to all be able to recognize, now they wear three-piece suits and make millions of dollars by being in Congress. Or, you know, pantsuits like Hillary Clinton. Either way.
Augustine argued we can tell right and wrong from revelation, because Jesus came into the world and revealed himself as God and was willing to suffer and die on the cross. We can tell what is right and wrong by following his words.
So on the surface, it looks like Augustine is saying, if you follow the Bible, then you'll know right and wrong. That should be the compass by which we determine. And in a larger sense, he's saying more. He's saying, in my opinion anyway, that there should be a moral compass to making law, to right and wrong. And as we know, when it comes to right and wrong, there's definitely a moral compass to it. Those with less morals are, of course, instinctually going to do wrong more than right, whereas those with a more northern-facing moral compass, if you will, are more prone to do the right thing just out of the nature of who they are, right? Again, the nature of humans are what basically both of these guys are arguing here, though Augustus, once again, is arguing that the Bible should kind of be the template by which these decisions are made.
Aristotle the pagan, Augustine the Catholic, Aquinas.
All right, guys, I think we have the background noise fixed. I think we've got all the issues fixed here. I do apologize for that little bit of background noise that we did have in the double miking issue. I think we've got all the settings correct now. We shall see, right?
Says you're both wrong. The essence of understanding the natural law is reason. It is not experience. It is not revelation. It is reason. We have the ability to reason what is right and what is wrong. And in order to reason, we need to be able to exercise certain freedoms like thought, speech, publication, travel, privacy.
In order to make an informed decision about anything, you have to have the ability to share the information. You have to have the right to thought, the right to freedom, the right to travel, the right to be able to put the information out there, the right to knowledge, right? And if you cannot make an informed decision, whether it be about an experiment, whether or not to take part in such an experiment of any type, or whether it's about an election decision, who's going to be president. Either way, you have to have the information to make an informed decision. Otherwise, it's not going to be a good decision because you weren't given all of the information. You didn't have the right to get the knowledge.
Those are natural rights which couldn't exist if we didn't have the natural law. Aquinas himself said, the natural law is like an onion. You just keep peeling it, and you find more things on the inside that you couldn't see from the outside. So as the onion was peeled by Suarez and De las Casas and Grotius, Suarez, spelled phonetically, De las Casas.
And we'll cover Grotius again here in just a moment.
Casas, Grotius, Grotius, by Blackstone, they began to discover more and more natural rights. The origin of natural rights, our ability to reason. When John Locke, who's down here, because he's after these European thinkers who are following Aquinas on reason, decides to articulate that the only legitimate purpose of government is to protect individual rights.
And that should be the purpose of government, to protect our individual rights. However, our current government system seems to have lost the plot and is trying to take our individual rights instead of protect them.
He was forced to articulate what is the origin of individual rights, and his argument is the same as NLT, our humanity.
Again, I cannot overstate this part enough. What are the origins of your natural rights? They don't come from government. They don't come from any other man. They don't come from anything other than the fact that you are alive, from your humankind. That is your humanity. That is the only thing that gives you the rights that you have and cannot be taken away until that last breath is taken, of course. Then it's questionable how much rights a corpse has, right? But your rights come from your humanity, and no one or nowhere else, from your creator, whoever you may believe that to be. Whether you're an atheist and believe the earth itself is your creator, or whether you are a Christian and believe a God is your creator, or whatever denomination that you believe, whatever reason you believe for your being here, your humanity is what gives you, your being here is what gives you certain rights, the right to live above all, first and foremost.
So Locke articulates that your right to think as you wish, to say what you think, to publish what you say, your right to develop your personality as you see fit. When Bill O'Reilly was at Fox, I used to say to him, you should be grateful that that's a natural right. Look at what you did with your personality. Nevertheless.
To borrow a line out of AJ's book, wrong, right, or indifferent, you have the right to create your own personality, right? To become whoever you become. You have the right to have those experiences that mold who you are. Some people like Mr. Napolitano here, clearly not fans of Bill O'Reilly, a controversial character in his own rights for sure. But once again, there are those that have taken that right to different extremes, right? Some people have become not so nice people, where others have had a different look on life, right? Either way, that is your right to develop your own personality through these experiences, through your right to speak, to breathe, to publish your ideas, to have thoughts and ideas that you can express, right?
Your right to self-defense.
Your right to self-defense, a topic that we could do full series of shows on in and of itself. And we know our buddy AJ the Ripon Rabbit covered that particular topic just a couple weeks ago. So may I suggest going back and looking that up. But we have the right to defend ourselves, the right to life, right?
Which is not the right to shoot deer. It's the right to shoot someone who's about to kill you, or shoot at a tyrant who has taken over the government.
Your right to own a firearm, which is also protected in our Constitution, is also your right. And it doesn't say certain kinds or you can't own a type of firearm. It says you have the right to arm yourself, to bear arms. And the reason, like he just pointed out, is not to hunt anything. It is to protect yourself against evil, basically. If it were an evil person, a person trying to harm you or rob you, unless you're in California, of course, I didn't say that, or if it's the government, and especially that's why it's in our Constitution, is the ability to fight back against our government if it becomes tyrannical, something that once again it is definitely dancing on the border of.
Your right to keep the government off your property, your right to be left alone, all of these rights come from our humanity.
All of these rights come from our humanity, the fact that we are human, that we are alive. That's it. Not from any other source but our humanity.
So, how do we know this? A dear friend of mine, whose name is Jay, initial J, Ujajewski, who's a philosopher at the University of Texas, has written a fascinating book called, listen to this title, What We Can't Not Know. What We Can't Not Know. Think of it. There are some things that we can't not know. We must know that they exist, like I'm alive. I'm not a figment of my imagination. I can doubt that I exist. This is Descartes. But in order to doubt, I have to think. And in order to think, I have to exist. So I know I'm alive. I hope. I hope for a better life. I hope for more freedom. I see right and wrong. I know wrong when I see it. I know right when I see it. If I put a cup of coffee here, a hot cup of coffee, and leave it alone, it's going to cool off. It will always cool off if it's let alone. How do I know that? The leaves fall, the sun rises in the east, it sets in the west. These are simple, basic examples of things that we all know. From where comes the knowledge? our ability to reason. Our friend in the middle would say, we got this knowledge from Revelation, and I'm obviously not critical of Revelation. It's an important part of salvation, but we're talking about a secular understanding of the natural law. Our friend for knowledge and experience would say, yes, we know from knowledge and experience, from our ability to perceive with our senses, that there are certain things that we can't not know.
Certain things you can't not know. I think we also, when I was growing up at least, used to call that, I don't know, common sense, right? And apparently that has become less and less common over generations. It's kind of mind-boggling to the degree that it has, right? But things you can't not know, things that you've learned from experience, things you just should as a human know, right? Common sense things.
If you accept the argument that all humans can reason, if you accept the argument that there are things that we can't not know, then you accept the argument that our rights come from our humanity.
So if you accept the argument that humans have common sense that we share amongst us, things that we just inherently know, then you also, by way of proxy, share the agreement that our rights come from our humanity.
If our rights come from our humanity, they do not come from the government. They are not susceptible to diminution by the government. They can't be taken away by legislation or by executive command.
The fact that we naturally have these rights means that the government has no right to take them away from us by any type of dictate, like these mandates, for instance, that we keep hearing about, blocking our right to travel, blocking our right to free speech, blocking our right to choice and freedom, right? Blocking our right to fresh air and oxygen by using different tactics, right? Blocking our right to proper medical help and our compassion, right? They've done their best to legislate this, but you can never really take the natural rights away from a human because they weren't given by any government or legislature. They were given by your creator, whoever, once again, you believe that to be. However, that's not entirely true. There is one event that can properly take your rights away from you, and it's something you have to do yourself.
That could only be taken away if we waive our rights by violating someone else's natural rights.
Another really important concept to understand. We waive our rights when we violate someone else's natural rights. And in my opinion, that means that the government violating our natural rights waives theirs. And we can go so much more deeply into that, and we will go more deeply into that into the second half of the Dark Wolf's Den radio show. As you guys know, the music means we've got to go ahead and take a network break right here. So my name's Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you're listening to the Dark Wolf's Den radio show exclusively on Ripon Common Sense Radio Network, the Ripon Rabbit Hole. We'll be right back with the second half after these messages. Don't you touch that dial. That's right.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Oh yeah, Jerry Hicks on a Thursday night. Hi everyone, it's AJ the Ripon Rabbit. Are you enjoying tonight's Dark Wolf's Den radio show, Freedom Flame series on natural law? I know I am. If you are, and you haven't done so already, please make sure to thumb up that video, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live. We're here normally every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday Sunday nights, bringing you the very best of common sense radio, the Ripon Rabbit Hole. I'll return tomorrow night, Friday, December 9th. Come along with me as I journey deep down through the rabbit hole of laughter and how it really is the best medicine. In today's day and age, if we didn't laugh, we'd have to cry. That's tomorrow night, Friday night, December 10th. Starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as all shows do. And then join me Saturday night as the laughter continues on into craziness. That's right. We're going to dive deep down the rabbit hole and explore all of the craziness. Have people just lost their minds in 2021? I can't believe it. Before you know it, it'll be 2022. And I listened to My Life DIY and Propagate This Life, and they talked about how last year it was December 2020. Isn't that weird? Now contemplate that one. That one really boggles my mind. Speaking of boggling my mind, if laughter and craziness isn't enough, we'll end out the weekend right together with you Sunday, December 12th, with a look at the powerful. That's right, we're going to dive deep down the rabbit hole and explore the powerful elite and just what it means to be part of the in crowd and what it means to be on the outside of the powerful elite. I think we know. I think we all know exactly what it means. If you haven't done so already, please hop on over to our website, riponrabbithole.com. That's RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. Sign up for your exclusive Backstage VIP pass. It's going to give you unfiltered access down the rabbit hole to where the conversation continues. You can actually listen to the My Life and I podcast, the Propagate This Light and My Life DIY did on the 7th. You can go to listen live and then on-demand rebroadcast. You can find all of the episodes that we have showcased and featured there. So if you miss one of these live events, you can always go back and watch it or listen to it on demand. We'll return to tonight's topic for the Dark Wolf's Den radio show, part of his Freedom Flame series on natural law for December 8th, 2021. You're listening to the Ripon Common Sense Radio Network, the Ripon Rabbit Hole.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the Dark Wolf's Den show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome back to the second half of the Dark Wolf's Den radio show for Thursday, December the 9th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of a reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in tonight, we are talking about natural law and the rights that are given to us just by being human, right? Our natural rights, things that no government or anywhere else can take away from us. But really quick, I would like to take a moment to shout out to my son-in-law. A very happy birthday today. I hope he's having a blast. It looks to me like he is. So happy birthday, Will. Glad to have you around our live. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you taking that moment with me. Ladies and gentlemen, when we are talking about rights, and we've been hearing from Judge Andrew P. Napolitano, a name some of you may mention, some of you, or may recognize, some of you may not. And so far we were talking about the only way you can lose your inalienable natural law given rights is violating the rights of others. But even that becomes a sticky situation, right?
Somewhere in here, I mentioned his name before, and I'll write it down. It's a Dutch name. This is an Grotius. Argues, on the basis of reason, there must be a hierarchy of human rights.
Now, that definitely brings in an interesting moral dilemma. Are there some rights that are more important than others? Is there a hierarchy of human rights?
So Jean Valjean steals a pie because his children are starving, and Javert chases him to the ends of the earth to arrest him for stealing the pie. This is Les Miserables.
Little known fact, Les Miserables is actually one of my favorite musicals.
Under natural law theory, because the right to live is a higher right than the right to own a pie, the right to take the pie, if absolutely necessary to preserve human life, is a higher right than the right to retain the pie.
And that brings in a really good question, right? Theft is wrong. We can all agree on that, no doubt. But letting someone starve is also wrong. We can all agree on that. I don't have a doubt. So what is more important? The theft and having to have taken the piece of food, as in this case the pie, in the case of Les Miserables, or the ability to let another human survive to have that piece of food, right? And that is a really good question. Personally, I'll always err on the side of human survival opposed to a little bit of money. But again, I think we can all agree that theft is wrong. So is there a hierarchy of rights and wrongs under the natural law of rights?
So Grotius argues from this, there must be a category of rights, some higher and some lower. It doesn't mean that they're not all natural rights. It just means that at times one might be sacrificed for another, since the right to live is the highest and greatest right that there is.
And I'm going to repeat that just to make sure you guys heard it. The right to live is the highest and most important right that there is.
In the 20th century, our dear friend Murray Rothbard makes this very easy for us to understand by articulating the non-aggression principle, which is that all aggression, which he defines as, and there are many, many theories about what is aggression and what is not, and there are many Supreme Court opinions on what is aggression and what is not, but we'll accept Murray's theory because it's easy to get a handle on for our purposes. Aggression is force or fraud. So all force or fraud against the person or the property of the individual is illicit. Emphasis, all force or fraud. That means not only from my neighbor, that means from the government as well.
All force or use of fraud is an act of aggression. I do believe, like he just stated, even by government as well, that our government has definitely enacted many acts of aggression against the American people. Though more recently it's out in the open and out in the spotlight, it's been happening for a very long time.
Murray used to like to tell this story. You're at home one night. You're not watching television. If you're going to the University of Chicago, you're reading at home one night. There's a knock on the door. You open the door. There's a guy there with a gun. The guy says, "Give me your money. I want to give it away in your name." The heck is this all about? I better call the police. He is the police. He's a tax collector, there to take your money and give it away in your name. Does that violate the non-aggression principle? Of course it does. It's using both force and fraud to deprive you of something that is absolutely and naturally yours, which is your possessions. And when I say on air at Fox that taxation is theft, I mean, aside from some of the things I've said about the one in the Oval Office, nothing has caused me more grief than this.
Taxation is theft, and I couldn't agree with that statement anymore. According to natural law, taxation is theft.
When Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, DEC for Declaration, he used iconic language that we endow our rights from our Creator and that our rights are inalienable. Well, that's back to this. that they are inalienable and they come from the Creator.
And of course, we discussed inalienable rights on last week's episode of the Freedom Flame series.
Again, you don't have to believe that they come from a Creator. You can believe that because human beings are the highest corporeal, rational beings on the planet, and that we couldn't rationalize and use our bodies in a rational way without the freedom to do so, that our rights come from within us. But by using the word inalienable, he actually wrote unalienable, which doesn't exist anymore. The modern word is inalienable. He's wedding the country at its birth to the idea that our rights come from our humanity. This is very important because it is the essence of natural law theory. If our rights come from our humanity, then the government can't take them away. If our rights come from our humanity, then taxation is theft. If our rights come from our humanity, then every benefit of every doubt, to use the modern technology, the default position is in favor of human freedom and not in favor of the government.
Not in favor of the government, of course, because the government didn't give you your rights. They've given you nothing that they can take away in that aspect as far as having your natural rights. Now, our country, thank goodness, has kind of codified that into the Constitution, even though our current ones in office, if you will, the leaders, for lack of a better term, seem to have forgotten the Constitution even exists and is doing their best to work around it every chance they get.
I was trying cases, criminal cases, in the Superior Court of New Jersey and Hackensack, New Jersey. It seems like 100 years ago, and I would say to prosecutors, well, why is this the law? Well, it's the law because the legislature wrote it. Positivism. Written down and ratified. That's all that's necessary for positivism. Written down and ratified. It could say the tax rate is 80%. If it's written down and ratified under positivism, it's the law. There's no moral tie to law in positivism. The attraction of positivism is that the government, that the people get the government that they deserve. And they can vote any government in or any government out and vote in any type of legislation that they want. But because it is not tied to any moral belief, like our rights come from our humanity,
which makes positivism a very dangerous thing in its own right.
I mean, Hitler was popularly elected. That's the most egregious example of all of this. But there's no backstop on the government when everything is positive.
And of course, we know that history did not end well under the reign of Hitler. So what allowed him to get elected, this positivism, is once again extremely dangerous of a concept.
Leszek Kolakowski, great Polish philosopher, wrote another great book, if you really want to get into this, called Is God Happy? I won't tell you the answer. Argued that the natural law should be a beast, used the word beast, on the throat of the legislator to restrain him from writing any law and regulating any behavior and taxing any event and transferring any wealth.
And I agree, the natural law should be used as a beast to restrain those given the quote authority, end quote, of leadership, and they don't really have authority. That's another thing that's been kind of washed into the minds of society, is to think that these people have some type of authority over us Americans in general. But these people do not. They are elected to represent us, not lead over us. They're not our overlords. They are our representatives. Always remember that. They work for us. We do not work for them. We pay their salary. They do their best to make sure ours gets messed up, right? That sounds about the way like government works, but...
So Murray wasn't born yet, of course, but we promulgated the Declaration of Independence. We won the revolution. We wrote a constitution, and then we wrote the Bill of Rights. So everybody knows this phrase. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. Question, which is the most important word in that phrase? I'll repeat the phrase for you. It's a trick question. 10 words. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech.
So what do you guys think is the right answer to that question? What is the most important word in that sentence? Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. All of those very good candidates for the most important word, but what do you guys think that word is? You might be very, very surprised to find out the answer.
Madison argued for hours over one word in that sentence.
Last chance, any ideas what the most important word in that sentence is?
The freedom of speech.
That's right, the. Such a simple word, but in this particular case, a huge meaning.
Demonstrated indisputably the belief of the framers that it pre-existed the government. Well, if the freedom of speech pre-existed the government, it didn't come from the government. If Madison were here, we would say, where did it come from? And he would say, well, look at what my neighbor wrote when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. It's one of those inalienable rights that he talked about. So, little Jimmy, you protected all these expressive rights. Think as you wish. Develop your personality as you see fit. O'Reilly. Say what you think. Publish what you say. Assemble or not assemble. Worship or not worship. Petition the government or not petition it. The right to keep and bear arms. The right to self-defense. The right to keep the government out of your property in wartime, no matter how badly they need the property. The quintessential American right, the right to be left alone. I'm going down the Bill of Rights. Okay, little Jimmy, what did you do about natural rights? The Ninth Amendment. You cannot understand natural law and its place in American history without understanding the Ninth Amendment, which Madison argued over. I love Madison, even though he had this bad phase in his life when he was a big government federalist and he pulled a lot of shenanigans to get the Constitution adopted. But then he got in the government and realized how awful it was and how the government had to be shrunk. But the Ninth Amendment basically says all those rights that we listed in number 1 through 8, that's not all the rights there are. There are many other rights that human beings have that the government shall not disparage. About as strong a language as you can see in anything in the Constitution. It is the Ninth Amendment that is the manifestation of natural rights as the basis for the protection for all the rights in the previous 8.
And the Ninth Amendment is as follows. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others that are retained by the people. So that leaves open the door to all of our natural rights under our Constitution, though it's argued in the Supreme Court many different ways. That's what it was originally, at least, meant to cover.
Another trick question.
All right, guys, I think we have time for one more question.
If Congress proposed a repeal of the First Amendment, Congress proposes by 2/3 votes of each house. The president has nothing to do with the amendment process. The states ratify the repeal. There is no First Amendment. Do we still have the freedom of speech?
Now, that's a good question. If Congress were to repeal the freedom of speech, which they darn near tried to in 2020, I don't know if you guys remember that, as well as our freedom of travel and many others, but if they literally repeal the First Amendment, do we still have the right to freedom of speech? Do we still have the natural law right to speech? How is that looked at in the eyes of natural law? What do you guys think? Do you think that if that happens that we would have that right? Or if they repeal it and we're out of luck, sorry, you no longer have that right available? What do you guys think? Let's find out.
Answer, under positivism, we do not. Because the law as written down has removed it.
Again, one of the many dangers that I was pointing out of positivism. However, what about under natural law?
Under natural law theory, because it comes from our humanity, of course we have the freedom of speech. It's integral to our existence, irrespective of what positivism says. When NLT and positivism meet, that's good law. That is such a tiny fraction of a percentage of the laws that exist. How many federal criminal laws are there? 4,400 federal criminal laws. There isn't a human being in the world who has read and understands all of them. But the very, very few that are consistent with natural law theory are the areas in which positivism does the right thing.
And like he said, when actually positivism does the right thing is a very, very small percentage of the time. I don't know about you guys, but I really believe in natural law myself. I believe my rights do come from my humanity. Just the fact that I'm living gives me certain inalienable rights. But what do you guys think? You've heard the information laid out this evening. What do you think? Do you think that positivism is definitely the way to go if it's written down and ratified, regardless of morality? That's the way it is? Or do you think that natural law is the way to go and we have these rights regardless of what any other human tries to tell us? In the end, ladies and gentlemen, all you can do is look at the evidence, apply a little common sense, and you be the judge. We got to close it out. That's right, that's it for this episode of the Dark Wolf's Den radio show for Thursday, December the 9th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of a reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, the den may be closing, but don't you worry, the weekend fun has only just begun. That's right. Make sure you come back tomorrow, Friday, December the 10th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, where AJ the Ripon Rabbit will return to the airwaves with an all-new episode of the Ripon Rabbit Hole live show. That's right. He's going to be discussing laughter, one of my favorite things in this world. As you guys know, a very, very powerful emotion and a deep dive to take in the rabbit hole indeed. And AJ will be taking that deep dive on Friday, December the 10th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Make sure you are subscribed to the Ripon Rabbit Hole YouTube channel or Ripon Common Sense Radio at the RiponRabbitHole.com. Both subscriptions, of course, are absolutely free. And then on Saturday, December the 11th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, he's going to be discussing craziness. There's a lot of craziness in this world right now, and so much to cover that could take years to cover that amount of craziness, but he's going to try to condense it into an hour's worth of fun on Saturday, December the 11th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific and 10/9 Central. Then on Sunday, December the 12th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Something that is definitely no laughing matter for sure and thrives off craziness. Of course, we're talking about the powerful, the elite of this world. They are very much a danger to the rest of us and have become even more so over recent years. Who are they? What do they do? And how are some of their tactics employed? AJ will be discussing at least some of this and more on Sunday, December the 12th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Definitely an episode you do not want to missed. That's right. And that is going to close the weekend out here at the RiponRabbitHole.com and the Ripon Common Sense Radio Network. And if you have missed any of our shows, make sure you do hop on over to the RiponRabbitHole.com. That is RiponRabbitHole.com. That's right. Over there, you're going to find all of the shows we've ever done in the on-demand section. Of course, first you're going to have to sign up for your absolutely free VIP pass. That's going to get you access to all of the offerings on the RiponRabbitHole.com, from the on-demand section to the exclusive social media section over there, very specialized for the rabbits. Make sure you come on over and check that out. We do not do the censorship game like the false social media networks. I'm sure you guys have a good idea who we're talking about here. So come on over and check us out. Drop some information down the rabbit hole and share it with the rest of the rabbits. Or if you're feeling like you want to interact with somebody, come on over to the 24/7 Backstage Lounge. That's right. That's where I'm headed here in just a couple minutes. And that's where a lot of us rabbits get together and have a great old time. I'm there at least once every single night. So come hang out with the wolf. I'd love to see you there. And ladies and gentlemen, with that said, on behalf of AJ the Ripon Rabbit, Chick Mandela Effect, Michael Musco, Walt House, everybody involved with Ripon Common Sense Radio Network, and all of our amazing mod teams on YouTube, everyone who's helped us along the way. On behalf of all these folks, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. And remember, until next time, stay awake, but dare to dream. That's right. Good night, everybody. How? Yeah. That's right.
I'm lost and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever home. Is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner. Is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner. Is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real? just illusion. I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
And remember, let's go Brandon, FJB, FYT. By the way, YouTube told me a little bit ago that I was live for the first 20 minutes over the Dark Wolf's Den show. Then all of a sudden decided I wasn't live anymore, or wasn't actually live. So 20 minutes of the show over there did get cut. My apologies, guys. I'll see what I can do to upload the whole version. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. You come check out AJ the Ripon Rabbit tomorrow night on Ripon Common Sense Radio Network, the RiponRabbitHole.com, and Ripon Rabbit Hole YouTube. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, stay awake, but dare to dream. Bye, everybody.